Hello. It is Wednesday at 8 o'clock, which means it is time to get your life. I am so glad for you all to be here with me tonight. Y'all been rocking hard with me, and I so value the support and the love. So thank you for showing up, seeing me, sharing the page, telling me just, how helpful the things I've been doing have been. Those things just really fill up my spirit. So I just wanted to share that gratitude with you all. I'm glad you're back with me again. Another Wednesday. We are here every Wednesday, 8 o'clock, where it's time to get your life. For those of you who haven't been with me yet, my name is Dr. Parsons, and this is Authentically Me, where we all have the freedom, the space, the tools, and the resources to be free, right? To show up as our genuine and authentic selves. And that is what we are all about. I am a psychologist. I'm here as your life coach today, where I'm going to teach you how to uncover those passions, how to set and reach your life goals so you can live your best life, your fullest life. Okay? So hi, y'all. I see you coming in. Thank you for being here. If you haven't already, make sure that you are following me. Authentically Me _live free on Instagram, and Authentically Me live free on Facebook. Check out my page if you like what you see. Be sure to like and share my page. So I always like to start out telling you all a little bit about me, a little bit about my background. I know some of y'all are new. Some of y'all might have heard this before, but some of y'all don't even know who I am or what I'm all about. And I think it's so important to know where you're getting your information from, right? Like, what is my lens? How am I coming to this space? Why am I here, right? Like, why does this matter to me so much? So this is a little snippet of kind of my story. It's a brief snippet because y'all know I could go on forever about who I am. But the parts that are really important in terms of birthing Authentically Me. So I lived for a long time caged in. I lived in this place where I was outwardly successful. I met many milestones. I had a lot of accomplishments and achievements. And, from the outside, people were like, you're doing it. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Like, you're ahead of the game. Everybody just assumed that everything was good. But like inside, right? Inside, there was a space of just turmoil. That's the best way that I can describe it. It was this space of knowing that, I'm doing all these things, but I don't feel fulfilled. I'm passing all these hurdles that people keep telling me that I'm supposed to be passing, but like, there's a piece of me that still feels empty, or knowing that I'm not living up to my full potential, that there is more for me out here in the world than like how I'm really showing up. And that was nagging at me. Like, that space was always like kind of tearing me up inside, and I was battling with it, kind of that back and forth of what does it mean to supposedly be doing it right, but to know that I'm not fully living how I want to be living, or I'm not fully giving the world what I know that I can, right? There's a piece of me that's like, okay, I'm good at this, but this isn't all that I'm made for. Right? Tell me if you felt that way. If you're like, oh, I know what it feels like to know that there's more for me, right? Or that, that the way that I'm living isn't the only way, right? That there has to be something else out there. Like, if you felt that way before, let me know. Because I know I'm not the only one that's been in that space of just recognizing not living up to your potential. And not knowing what to do differently, but just knowing that what you are doing right now isn't enough, like kind of not wanting more, right? So I was in that space, struggling in that space. And then almost 4 years ago now, my partner was killed in a car accident. And in that tragedy, right, like my whole life was stripped from me. Like, everything that I knew was taken. And I was like literally at my rock bottom. And so I was forced to to rebuild. It was like, okay, I have to heal through this. I was thrown into this like wild, intensive healing journey, right? And in that, I wasn't just healing from grief, but also from all those other layers of things that I had been holding on to. And I'm rebuilding my life, and I'm saying to myself, okay, if I'm going to rebuild this, if I have this opportunity to shape now what I want my life to be, what I know is I'm not going back to living caged in. I'm not going back. I'm not going to rebuild to something that feels confining, right? I'm going to live to my fullest potential. And especially now knowing so intimately the brevity of life, right? Like knowing that this is it. This is not a dress rehearsal. I don't know that I even have tomorrow. So what am I waiting for? So my rebuild, I made a commitment to myself that I am showing up as all of me. And like from that space, like that's where Authentically Me was built. Like, okay, what did I learn along that journey? What did I have to shift and change about how I was showing up in different spaces, about how I dealt with myself, about my internal dialogue, right? About like how, about my own healing journey. What did I do? And how can I now show other people how to do those same things? And so one of those things, which is what we're talking about today, is I had to learn that I cannot do everything by myself. I had to learn how to ask for help. And that's today's topic. That's what we're talking about today. We're going to talk about how to ask for help. Let me know. Raise your hand. Just put like a little, yeah, me, if you ever struggled with asking for help. If at some point in your life you might have even known that you needed help, but something held you back where you just kind of kept on, right? And were carrying it by yourself. And you see me looking over here because I got notes, y'all. I'll be writing out outlines because I want to make sure that I hit on the good points. I want to make sure I give y'all the goods. So, let me tell y'all why this is so hard for so many people. And I speak from my lens, right? This might not be your lens, might not be your identities, but like I hope that there are parts of this that you can connect to. So I, as a cisgender Black woman, right? Like I've been conditioned through all of those different identities and the intersections of those, right? And whatever, that's just the heady academic way to say I am who I am, and parts of that have shaped how I experience the world. And some of the messaging that I got, explicitly and otherwise, about like, what does it mean to be a Black woman? Like, who am I trying to build myself into? Like, what is admirable, right? What are traits that like I should try to embody? Is this like identity of being a strong Black woman? And I was, and again, explicitly and implicitly, I just got this idea that like to be a strong Black woman means to carry everything. Like, and I really do, I felt like there was like you carry things, you do things by yourself, right? Like that's how you prove that you, I wouldn't say like are worthy, but are pulling your weight, right? Like you don't need help. You can do it on your own, right? Like push yourself to not lean on anybody else, to not depend on anybody else, right? Because there's a perception of like weakness in depending on others, right? And so, and then I got these messages that like Black women are kind of like responsible for in our strong Black identities and at that intersection of gender too, right? Of like carrying our men, right? Of raising our children, of carrying our families, right? On a communal level, there was just so much over and over again. The message that I got was I had to do it by myself. Or it wasn't even worth it. It was almost like if you are dependent on somebody else, then you ain't even really doing it. So do it by yourself. Prove that you can, right? Prove that you don't need help to be, I don't know, like for it to be valid. I guess that was part of what the messaging was. And here's the thing. So I recognize, right, that all of this is conditioned in social messaging, right? So I got this messaging, right? And it was never for people like wanting to harm me. I recognize that. A lot of these are shared through and kind of passed over in time in love, right? Like we want people to survive, we want people to do better. You know, generations before us, they learned these messages. That was the way that they survived. I get all that. But what I also know is that narrative, that strong black woman narrative, and believing that and carrying that, yes, there are amazing, resilient, extraordinary black women who have climbed mountains that feel like we shouldn't have been able to climb with that narrative. And that narrative is hurting us. It is coming at a cost, right? Like, it's a load. You're carrying a load and it's heavy. It's weighing down. And I am the one, crumbling underneath it. And the power of asking for help. Like, so when I was in that place of after losing Kokai, when I couldn't carry it anymore, when literally my 1-year-old daughter, there were days where she was dragging me out of bed. And there was no chance of like holding up this facade anymore, and I had to ask for help. I recognized the power in doing that because it kept me alive. It was like, oh wow, like there's actually an expansion in getting support from other people. And then as I, started rebuilding and healing and coming back into the world, one thing that I did in this journey, right, is observe people around me. Like, what are other people doing? Because there's something about what was happening in my internal world that wasn't working. So let me observe. Let me pay attention, especially to successful people, right? And figure out what are they doing? How are they approaching these situations? How are they thinking? What's their mindset? What's their ideology? And one thing that I saw over and over again, especially with very successful people, is that none of them did anything by themselves, ever. And it wasn't even in shame, right? Like, the one piece of advice that I have found consistently across fields, across, people's backgrounds, those people that are at the top, the one thing I hear over and over, and it's almost like the first piece of advice: get a mentor. You know what get a mentor means? It means ask for help. It means lean on somebody who has done what you are trying to do. Find somebody who is where you are trying to get and ask them how they got there. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to start from scratch. Find somebody who can help guide you. And people who are successful do that well. And then the other thing you hear, right, is build a team. What does that mean? It means ask for help. It means if you want to be successful, you're not going to be able to do it all by yourself. And that says nothing about you, right? It's not like, you couldn't cut it. It's that success requires help. It requires networking. It requires support. We are social beings for a reason, right? So again, that standpoint, that place of like, well, I have to do it by myself. I know where it comes from, and I'm just urging all of us to just also consider, what is it costing you? What are you sacrificing to do it by yourself? And is it worth it? Is that worth it? So I'm going to tell y'all, because I always try to give you like real tips, like real strategies of how I go about asking for help, or when I go about asking for help, right? So these are the things that like I had to work through, that I had to understand, I had to shift my perspective on to be able to ask for help. So the first thing was to recognize when you need to ask for help. And I know this seems really simple, but this is something that many people haven't quite grasped, right? And here's the thing. You need to ask for help when there's going to be a cost to you doing it alone. And that cost can be in the moment or later, right? And I'm talking about a hurt, right? And a physical hurt, an emotional hurt, a psychological, like a mental hurt, right? Anytime where there's a risk that you're costing yourself, any part of yourself, of those layers, either now in the moment or later, that means that you need to ask for help. Usually people are in this place of like, oh no, I can do it right now. Like, I can do this. And it can be like, so I'm going to just give y'all an example. It could just be like trying to carry all the groceries by yourself, right? Like, no, don't worry. I got all of these, right? But all you're considering is, can I make it to my front door? You're thinking right now, immediately, in this moment, if I can do that, then I don't have to ask for help. Meanwhile, you're straining yourself to do that. And then, maybe not groceries, but y'all will get the point. Then you find yourself trying to recover for 2 to 3 days down the road. Because you were like, oh, well, I could do it in the moment. I didn't need help. Meanwhile, you're costing yourself something in the future. So you need to think about, okay, yeah, maybe I'm capable of doing this right now, but I'm hurting myself in this moment or down the line. If that's true on any continuum, right, you need to ask for help. And if y'all read my blog post, this is a little shout out to my weekly post, right? Make sure you're part of the Live and Love Free community to get the newsletter sent straight to your email address, liveandlovefree.org. You'll recognize that this sounds a little familiar because this is the same criteria that I use for determining when I'm going to say no. If I'm going to be hurt, if somebody makes a request from me and I'm going to be hurt, and I don't mean just physically, I mean emotionally, I mean mentally, I mean physically as well, psychologically, right, or spiritually, now in that moment or down the road, the answer is going to be no. So I use that same criteria, right? The flip side of it, the other end of that spectrum is that's also when you need help. When you're chipping away at yourself. When whatever it is that you're doing isn't like you're not going to be able to maintain that without hurting yourself. You need to stop and you need to ask for help. Okay? Y'all hear what I'm saying? Stop just considering just that present moment like, oh, well, if I can do it right now, then that means that I should. No. If it's costing you, if it's hurting you now in the moment or down the road, you need help and you need to be willing to ask for it. Now, I recognize, like, I don't want to get in this place of like victim blame because I know that there are people who are asking for help and aren't getting it. That's not what I'm talking about right now, right? I'm talking about when you are stopping yourself from even making the request, right? When you are kind of toting this like, well, I can do it by myself attitude and that it's hurting you, holding yourself back. That's what I'm talking about. So if you're putting yourself in the position of wearing yourself down, recognize that you need help. And you need to be willing to ask for it. You're going to feel it now or you're going to feel it later. And when in those moments when you're convincing yourself, oh, I can do it because I can hold it right now, what you really need to be asking myself is, am I okay with hurting myself down the road? Am I okay with the pain that's going to come from this later? Am I okay with like the after effect that I'm going to have to recover from because I'm not willing to ask for something right now? That's what you have to be checking it in with. Rather than just telling yourself, oh, it's all right. Like, I can make it. But y'all heard me say, right, this is also my criteria for when I'm going to say no. So if somebody makes a request for me and I recognize that, like, it's beyond my capacity, it's going to be something where I'm going to be hurting either now or in the future, I say no. And I bring that up because it's so important because number two, the second thing that y'all going to have to do to start asking for help, y'all gonna have to respect other people's right to say no. Okay? Like, when I tell y'all, that is one of the top reasons I hear people say they don't ask for help because they don't like to hear no. Because they don't want to be disappointed. Because it hurts too much when you reach out and somebody doesn't give back to you. Everybody has the right to say no, you included. let me tell y'all what typically happens in those types of situations. Y'all, we start attaching meaning to somebody else saying no. It's like, oh, well, they said no to me, so I must not matter. Or, I'm alone, or nobody really loves me, right? And so that it's not just no, it's all these other things about who we are and our worth overall and our position in the world. All those things are lies that your mind is feeding you to keep you from asking for help in the future, right? They're lies, okay? Most of the time, what has actually happened is you have overextended yourself in the past, or historically, you give all of yourself to other people and then are disappointed when you don't get that back in return. The problem is not that somebody is telling you no. The problem is that you need to start saying no more. You need to start setting your own boundaries so that you don't think that giving someone your last is proof that you love them. So that you don't tell yourself that lie that you have to overextend for other people in your life at your own detriment. And then you'll stop expecting other people to do that for you. And if you do make that choice, if you are making that choice temporarily, maybe in one particular situation for one particular person, recognizing that people might not reciprocate that. And that means nothing about you. It doesn't mean anything about you at all. All it means is that in that moment, for whatever reason, that person said no. And if you let that stop you from asking for help, either from them or from other people again, you're hurting yourself. You're keeping everything on your own plate, everything that you cannot carry. So even if it were true, is it serving you to believe that narrative? Oh, well, I'm alone. I have to carry it myself. I have to do it all alone. Nobody really cares about me. Is that serving you? It's not. I'm here to tell you it's not. Please don't let that stop you from asking for help. Please don't. Set better boundaries yourself. Stop trying to give all of yourself to everyone else and leave yourself on empty, and then want other people to leave themselves on put themselves back on empty to fill you up. Fill yourself up first. Give other people the parts that spill over. And when you need somebody to help so that you don't drown yourself down, reach out and ask for it, recognizing that some people might not have it to give. They might not have it to give. And that is okay. They have that right, just like you do. Okay? Do y'all hear what I'm saying? Y'all hear what I'm talking about? Now, what it might tell you something about how much of a priority that you are in somebody else's life. And by all means, observe that. Take that information in and make different decisions about their relationship, their role in your life accordingly. But don't let that stop you from asking for help. Okay? It's a no. It's just a no. That's it. It's a no. It's not a reflection of your worth. It's not a reflection of your importance. It's not a reflection of your value. All it is a no. All right? And I understand, right? If you're coming from that place, if you are in that lens of, well, I don't like asking for help because it's so hard for me to hear no. In the beginning, when you first start pushing yourself to do something different and shifting that, it's going to mean you having to feel disappointed, right? Because that's something that's kind of programmed in you right now. So it's going to take some time for you to learn it's okay to feel disappointed, right? That feeling is not going to kill you. That feeling is not going to take you out. You're going to lean into it, you're going to feel it, you're going to release it, and you're going to keep going. All right? So maybe even anticipate, hey, I'm gonna feel this. Disappointment's gonna come a little bit, and over time, as you start practicing, it's gonna fade because it took time for it to build up to the place where it is right now, from stopping you getting what you need, which is help. So just keep at it. Keep asking, knowing, okay, I'm gonna process this disappointment, and I'm gonna keep moving. I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna be okay. And part of how you know you're gonna be okay is because you're gonna keep asking for help until you get the help that you need from the person or the source or the support that can show up for you. Or you're gonna figure out a way to not have to carry it by yourself. The solution to somebody saying no isn't you carrying it on your own. It's you figuring out another way to get help. Because remember, the reason that you're asking for help is because you know that you're in a position where doing it by yourself is going to hurt yourself now or later. So accepting that hurt is not an option. It's not an option. So we're going to find a way that you are not going to chip away at yourself in the process. Because you are worth that. Right? Your life matters. Okay? So let me tell you a little bit. This is my little pro tip, right? Talking about reconditioning. Why I'm so okay with hearing no is because I ask anybody for anything. When I tell you I almost intentionally ask outrageous things just to remind myself that life goes on even when people tell me no. I ask people things that I'm 100% sure they're going to say no. Just for the practice. And you know what's really the wild part? Sometimes people still say yes. Sometimes people still give me things where I was 100% convinced that they were going to say no. And I'm talking stuff like I'll be at a restaurant. Oh yeah, y'all should give me that for free. Sometimes it actually happens. You never know. And that's the wild part of the experiment. I'm walking around look at all this stuff. All these blessings that, are coming to me just because I was willing to ask. All these things that I would never, ever have access to if I were, and not just that I wouldn't have access to, but I also would be shrinking and hurting myself in the process if I wasn't willing to ask for help. So go out there, make out, and I ask, when I tell y'all any and everything, I've been told, there's absolutely no way anybody's gonna do it. I still ask. I'm just gonna ask, just curious. I know this isn't traditional, but I was just wondering. I'm just curious. I wanted to check in and see if it was possible. Always, when I tell y'all every situation, I'm always asking. And I do negotiation trainings for early career women, and that's part of the message. Ask. Right? You never know what you're going to get until you are willing to ask. Especially if you know what you want. Right? Please go ask for that. All right. So then number 3, this is the simple part, right? We talked about how you know that you need the help. We talked about those blocks that are getting in your way and what you're going to do with that, right? We're pushing that to the side. The simplest part is to just do it. Just ask the words. And here's the thing. You can keep this as simple as possible. We don't need the whole backstory. You don't have to tell us how you got to this place. You don't have to give 5 different outs for the person to take. All of that makes it more of an ordeal than it really needs to be. And probably helps flame up the anxiety that's keeping you from doing it anyway. Keep it as simple as possible when you're first starting out. What is the direct request? Ask that directly. Get a yes or no. And keep moving. Can you do this? Can I have this? That's it. Yes, no, thank you. Thank you for considering. Or thank you for giving it. Right? Real gratitude, right? Because whatever the response is, there's no reflection on you and your worth and who you are. It's just their right to have their own free response the same way you have that right when somebody makes requests of you. All right, so that's it for tonight. And my 3 tips about how to ask for help. I hope this has been helpful. Speaking of asking for help, I hope you are here with me as your initial practice. And I want y'all to go out and, for real, start asking for outrageous things. And let me know when you get some of them. Right? Because you will. You'll be surprised the things that you get once you're willing to ask for them. Again, make sure that you're following me. I'm authentically me _live free on Instagram, authentically me live free on Facebook. Shoot me a DM or a comment. Let me know if there's anything in particular that you want me to cover in future weeks. I'm always about making sure this information and content is relevant to you and the things that are going on in your life. Every week, I'm back Wednesday, 8 o'clock, where you can get your life. Peace.